Hi, Seven Zoe. My name is Christopher Mills from Agents of Fandom. For my first question, I wanted to say that it feels so great to see Riri again after Wakanda Forever, and even her little short appearance in What If. And now she is up against magic, which is way out of her field, and way out of her depth. And I was just wondering, aside, from the hood, were there any characters that you considered using that didn't end up in the show, or characters you wanted to use that you weren't allowed to use?
I mean, I will be honest, the Hood was kind of the villain from the get-go. Like once we landed on that idea, it never really strayed. So he was always the pinnacle for our antagonist. But I will say, if you've read the comics, you probably know that he has tendrils and connections to Dormammu. And there was obviously conversation about whether or not that was the right sort of big bad to build to. And I think in the comics, it made a lot of sense. But in our show, we did want to find a character that felt more thematically connected.
And just to add to that, like we early on we look at all of the Marvel characters who are in the cosmic space or magic space, and I think that's how I was introduced to Zelma as a character who I wasn't personally familiar with her, but I read a great Doctor Strange comic that we all read that deals with her, and it felt like she would be such a fun counterpart to Riri. So that's kind of how we landed on that. So that's very much our process.
So I was gonna say, with Zelma, I think Zelma is also a great introduction in Ironheart, and she's a character that I loved from Strange Academy. Obviously, she's slightly different in this show, but I think she fits in just so well with the storyline and everything. And then into my second question, that finale, that ending, is one of the craziest cliffhangers in probably all of Marvel television. And I was just wondering what was the intention behind, choosing that ending for this show, and if there was any chances that we could see the storyline from, the actual ending and the post-credit scene continue in a second season, or if it's possible that it could weave its ways into other shows in the MCU.
I think it's easy sometimes to get, when we're developing, get ahead of ourselves and try to figure out what is the best way to set up what's next, and sort of have a mind towards what is coming. And that may sometimes prevent you from taking the riskier choices that feel more right for the character in the moment. Seb, I think it's something you said very early on, of like, the joy of writing is writing yourself into a corner and figuring out how to get yourself out of that corner. And I think once we really embraced that concept, the ending was just what felt like the right conclusion to her story in this series. Where that will go next and how that will be handled and unpacked is the challenge for tomorrow. But the challenge for today was telling the best story in this moment.
And for just a final question for Sev, you're working on the next television series to stream on Disney Plus at Marvel, which is Eyes of Wakanda. And I just want to say, obviously, from what we've seen, the animation looks outstanding, unlike anything we've seen from Marvel. And I just wanted to know what the inspiration behind that animation was, and if there's anything you can tease about the show.
Oh man, Todd Harris is a master. He's had a long run with Marvel, and he's been, even worked with Ryan on storyboarding and on some of our past projects. And that was a pitch that he had, and part of his pitch was to do something really bold with the animation. And we'll talk about it more in the weeks ahead as that show comes out. But there was a couple of projects in particular that Todd really sought inspiration from, and he would show us like, hey, here's kind of what I'm thinking, this meets that times this. But I'll let that be something we talk about later for sure. Thanks, Christopher. It's a really fun show.
Honestly, thank you so much, Seven, Zoe. I honestly enjoyed Ironheart so much. It was so different. I can't wait for him to watch it this Wednesday when the first 3 episodes, drop on Disney Plus. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.